The New Testament church and the Old Testament church have much in common, as well as being organically linked, of course. I can understand others rejecting the biblical witness about God's peculiar call to Israel and the new covenant elect. But that's not an option for those who take the Bible seriously. Israel's origin, according to the Bible, is the Exodus, with the whole corpus of events connected with it. It was at that point God began the process of fulfilling his promise to Abraham. Acts 7:17 tells us, with the appearance of Moses. Israel became a nation unto and under Yahweh at that time. Exodus 19, 3-8, and then chapter 24, 3-11 tells us. The signs and wonders in Egypt were the hand of Yahweh, with whom Israel made a covenant commitment, and he became their God. Note Hosea 12:9 and Hosea 13:4. Hosea makes great use of the Exodus. This new nation, Israel, this new nation didn't create itself, didn't define itself, didn't guide or direct itself. If the Exodus really happened, and if the nation's interpretation of it was true, they owed their existence, shape, and destiny to Yahweh, because no other God stepped in to rescue them or have compassion on them in their desperate need. Do see Isaiah 43:11 and 12, and then look at Ezekiel 16:1-6. In light of the words of Moses, who contextualized the Exodus for us, this series of stark historical events were the womb in which and out of which Yahweh brought Israel to birth. Israel's forbidden to turn to idols for lots of good reasons. You'll remember God saying, "You will have no other gods but me or alongside me. You'll not have idols. You will not bow down to them." God wants to be honored. Wants to be honored because he loves the highest he knows. And he is the highest he knows. He's not obsessed with who he is, but he has no identity crisis. And he didn't apologize for being God. But at the throbbing center of his being is his good pleasure in and his love for who and what he has chosen to create. And when he insists that humans honor him, it's for their benefit, because he has committed himself to them. He knows that he's worthy of all their praise, knows that he's worthy of all their adoration and obedience, but he also knows that if they don't respond that way to him, the human family goes to ruin. They ruin themselves. And that matters supremely to him. I won't forget the remark of Karl Barth. He said that God purposed and willed it, that he would not be God without us. Amazing, that. Anyway, so it was with Israel, and God forbids them to turn to idols. When Israel turns to idols, she becomes a people without reason. All kinds of things go haywire. When she turns to idols, the story about an exodus must be sheer fiction. It couldn't have occurred. Well, if it did occur, it couldn't have happened as the biblical witness says, nor could it have meant what national tradition said it meant. Israel's entire history has either to be denied or so reinterpreted that their past becomes an utter, absolute mystery. if Yahweh was a false god, if the gods they now embraced were the real deal, the structure of Israel's life, a life built on a covenant with Yahweh, is senseless, rootless. In denying her God, Israel must deny her accepted history and identity and must reinvent herself. She must explain herself in a whole new way. In the meantime, until she does that, until she comes up with another master story, she's a nation without identity. And if she is a nation that denies her identity, she is a nation without a destiny or a mission. Look, if the American Republic didn't begin as national tradition and history says it did, well then how did it originate? How do you explain the origin and the nature of the celebrations on Memorial Days? How do you do that? How is the U.S. Constitution or the massive foundational laws built on that Constitution? How is that to be explained? A whole new history must be invented, or the accepted history must be so revised and reworked as to be no longer recognizable as the original story. And if that's done, of course, America isn't the same America. That's how it is with Israel. It's also how it is with the New Testament. If nothing happened that even resembled the Exodus story, then mindless chance produced their origin in a devastating series of events that led to her liberation. She was lucky. A God named Yahweh didn't send Moses. Good luck did. Moses, if he existed at all, was deluded, with his brain baked by the sun in the Midian desert. He imagined a divine commission. In from the desert he came, this mad dreamer, raving about, what's the name again? Oh yes, Yahweh. Yahweh sent me. Yahweh said he's going to deliver you. Yahweh said he would do it through all these signs and wonders. And the irony of it all? By sheer chance, the deliverance he spoke of came true. No, as Hosea would have it, idolatry makes Israel brainless. And they fly like a homeless pigeon from one place to another, from one God to another. See Hosea 4:11 and 7:11. If it was just sheer good luck and chance that gave Israel her origin, it could be just sheer bad luck and chance that could destroy her. If chance rescued her, then chance could bury her. Deny God by going to other gods, and Israel is without assurance of the future. They don't know what happened in their past, and they don't know what their future will turn out to be. Was she ever a slave nation? Did a God ever lovingly adopt her? Was she ever delivered from anything? Is she going anywhere? Will she make it there? Does she serve any real magnificent purpose in the world? Why would she even imagine that she had a destiny and a mission to the entire human family, to bring light to it, the light of Yahweh? Let me say it again. When Israel turns to idols, she becomes a people without a destiny and a mission. To deny the Exodus is to deny her election, for it's only in the context of history that her destiny is brought to light. If she turns from Yahweh, she's no light bringer for the world. She's just another of the nations like her predecessors in Canaan, who for a while cast their shadows on the earth on their way to oblivion. All the power that comes into the lives of those driven by a sense of mission, it'll decay. With no reason to believe she has been chosen and commissioned, she'll behave as any other nation without a mission. And she'll drift rather than live. She'll begin to rot rather than be salt to the earth. Not being shaped by a divine commission, a sense of mission. She'll be shaped by the restless, drifting nations around her, whose national strength, like the desert sands around them, is scattered and dispersed by every passing wind. And what is true of the Old Testament Israel is true of the New Testament church. Either she originated the way the biblical witness said she did, or she didn't. Jesus of Nazareth is or is not what the New Testament presents him to be in all the various ways it offers us the story of Jesus. Jesus died, rose from the dead, and is now exalted as Lord of all, or he did not and is not. If he did not and is not, then the New Testament witness must be rejected as fiction, or so reinterpreted as not to be recognizable. The New Testament church's origin must then be explained in what way? A mass of guesses, all kinds of historical reconstructions, all kinds of sociological theories and observations, all kinds of interesting psychological opinions about Jesus and the leaders of the church, and Paul in particular. Now, it might be that the New Testament witness is false right out of the question. It might be that the origin of the New Testament church is as these non-believers say. But let's not pretend it really doesn't matter, as long as we're all nice to each other. A church like that, with no history, that can be explained in terms of chance and contingent, this, that, and the other, a church like that isn't worth talking about, because it has neither destiny nor mission. If it's worth talking about at all, it can't be called different. Like every other human organization or social community, it simply grew to be what it is by the winds of chance. It might think it is different. It might even talk as though it were different. And of course, like every other organization or institution, it would have its own peculiarities. But all in all, yawn. It's just another historical phenomenon, the kind that comes and goes. If it hangs around for a very long time, it'll finally recognize it really isn't different at all. And it'll become like all the other social institutions on offer. And it will get down to the socially useful business of helping us all to be nice to one another. As generation after generation, we sin, remain enslaved, and then pass off into the night. No. Every time the church receives someone's confession, a heart-filled, repentant, trusting confession, and baptizes them into union with Jesus Christ, it proclaims the life, the death, the burial and resurrection and exaltation of Jesus. Every time it feeds on the Thanksgiving Eucharistic meal and Holy Communion, having the Lord's Supper, that proclaims his incarnation, his life, his death, his resurrection, his glorification, all to rescue the world. The church is a witness to him and all that he means and all that God is in him, is doing in him, and will complete in and through him. A church that stands for that, a church that proclaims that, a church that lives that, that's a church worth talking about.